RHS students honored.
Prom king and queen.
And it's a Better Legacy Week.
All today on the Air.
I'm your host, Kenny Peterbowl.
I'm your co-host, Angel Glickman.
And welcome to our show. On Friday night, 52 RHS seniors were honored for their academic achievement at the annual Academic Excellence Recognition. The top 10 students were recognized by the Kiwanis, and then students got to honor a teacher who had an impact on their education.
Corey Irwin and Drew Barrett.
Mr. Irwin has taught me bunches about the English subject. I feel as if my writing is gooder than ever right now. I have no thanks enough for the fantastical job you done with me. On a little more serious note, I can't thank Mr. Irwin enough for being my teacher, not only once, but twice.
Every time I hear Jared's name or his voice, it instantly brings a smile to my face. He is probably one of the few students I have had that comes to class every day with a smile, a positive attitude, and sometimes you can even hear him singing while he runs in PE class. His spirit is contagious, and no matter what kind of day you are having, you can't help but smile when he is around. He is a motivator and a natural leader. Thank you, Jared, for always making me smile and never let anything change your wonderful spirit.
To earn academic excellence, students have a cumulative GPA of 3.5 or greater and meet all Core 40 requirements.
Now, on some announcements. Seniors, it's time to start thinking about voting for Most Likely To for this year's Pyrean. Make sure to vote next Wednesday at the table in the cafeteria.
If you're interested in owning and operating your own business someday, then you need to think about applying to the Boss Technologies Paid Entrepreneur Program this summer. Learn how to create and run your own business. See Mrs. Selm or Mrs. Reynolds for an application.
Ever wonder how much you owe in your student lunch account? Now you can check it whenever you want with an app on your smartphone. My School Bucks is available for free. Just download it at your favorite app store and you can check your balance anytime.
Don't forget to take a selfie and submit it to this year's Pyrean. Just email it to pyreanolympics@yahoo.com. Make sure it's not profane. You're not doing anything dangerous, and of course, no nudity. Get yours in soon.
So you should have already experienced the first phase of Better Legacy Week this morning. But what is it?
The culture at RHS is changing, and Dustin Swander has more.
Hey RHS, this week is a kickoff for what I'm calling the Better Legacy campaign. The idea of the Better Legacy campaign is having kids, stop and think about their lives. Everyone lives in a legacy that's already set up for them. It's set up for them by their neighborhood, their parents, those around them, even their friends. They're predisposed to do certain things, because their parents act a certain way, maybe they're going to act a certain way as well. Because their friends value certain things, they're going to value certain things as well. And I want kids to spend a little time thinking about what their legacy is. What are they living in right now? And if they're not okay with certain things that might have been predetermined for them by their parents or by their neighborhood, if they're not afraid or if they're not okay with the track that they might be on because of the way others have set them up, then I'd like kids to, lay out some tangible goals. What kind of life am I really trying to live? What am I really aiming at? What do I want to get out of life? And once they've set out those tangible goals, I want them to think about, am I on track to achieve those goals? Am I living in a way that will lead me to achieve those goals? It's really all about thinking about your individual legacy, and then once you've thought about it, taking steps to make sure that it's your own legacy and not someone else's, to build a better legacy for yourself. Thanks, RHS.
there are some people who just feel that the hard work is worth it. Some people are driven by the hard work, and you hear people who claim to be in the zone, and sometimes just in-depth, very detailed hard work is satisfying. The rest of the world is just not happening. You're working so hard. There's some pleasure in that for me too. But assuming that that sounds a little unrealistic, the hard work is sometimes just hard and drudgery. I mean, it's just drudgery. You feel it, you feel exhausted, and sometimes you don't see the effort being worth it because you don't see the results day by day by day. And we've had those days. I've had those days. It's being able to, and you have to do it. You have to sometimes just stop where you are, look back to see where you've been and how far you've come, and take stock in the pleasure. Students who can't see that the hard work is worth it probably often fail to give themselves credit for the trip they've made to be where they are. And they need to stop and look at that. Their advances are so monumental, and they need to take stock of how much they've put into it to get a sense of how much more is possible. And it's our job as teachers and as educators to help them stop once in a while and see that. Many times when we work with students who are not motivated, that's one of the strategies we use. Let's see where you've been. Let's see how far you've come, because that's just an indicator of how far you can go. And that's one of the ways that I do it. When I was in a cohort of students who decided to get a doctorate at one point. This is post-high school, post-college even. It was in my doctoral cohort. We had 13. There were 13 of us, and for some of us, the hard work stopped when the coursework was over. For a smaller number of us, we had to do our dissertation, and the dissertation was, for me, the hardest of the components of getting the doctorate, because you had to be self-motivated, self-disciplined to get those chapters done, to get the research done. But we worked with one another. We called one another. We constantly were needling one another about who would get done first, and how are you doing on this chapter, and so on. That was terribly difficult work. But I think when you go through those projects, you prepare yourself for what yet comes. The hard work that I did in my doctoral work was nothing compared to the hard work that we've had to do to correct some of the problems here at Richmond, and or maybe not correct the problems, but to address some of the problems that we've done in Richmond. Life is about the struggle, and struggle is good. We often say struggle is something to be avoided. It's not. It's to be embraced. It's to be, just get yourself into it, because it's through the struggle, when you get to the other end of it, that you derive the satisfaction and pleasure.
If you're looking to play a sport next year, don't forget to get a physical and get it on file. There are 3 dates this summer when you can get a cheap sports physical for only $10. They begin on a read or fill paid at Center starting at 6 p.m. on May 21st, June 5th, and July 29th.
If you're signed up for summer school, remember you must pay your fees before you're officially signed up for your classes. Pay your fees in the main office.
A woman-stored Red Devils forecast as highs today and tomorrow remain the low to mid-80s with high temperatures and humidity. We'll see thunderstorms pop up both days, and some could be severe at times, especially tomorrow. Overnight tonight, the low will barely get out of the 70s, but for Tuesday night, we'll see the beginning of a cool down for the rest of the week.
As we close today, we want to congratulate this year's prom king and queen. Thanks to Maria Cummins for sharing her photos from prom of the newly crowned royalty, Jordan Spicer and Erica Bailey, and a great shot of the court on the riverboat. Remember, if you see things happen that could be on the announcements, just email them to Mr. Russell and we'll get them on our show.